This is not a drill, and this is certainly not one of those comedy skits you see on Instagram. The Indaboski Bahose, the liquid metal, the man who calls himself the lion, Prophet Chukwuemeka Odumeje, is reportedly in hot water with the Department of State Services, DSS. If the reports flying around the internet today, Wednesday, December 17, 2025, are anything to go by, the secret police have allegedly placed a sophisticated tracker on the Anambra-based cleric. They are monitoring his calls, they are watching his movements, and they are reportedly ready to intercept him at any moment. Why? Because the Abido Shaker has dared to do the unthinkable. He has reportedly made concrete moves to visit the leader of the indigenous peoples of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, in his new, highly fortified detention facility in Sokoto State. You need to understand the gravity of this. This is not just a pastor visiting a church member. This is a potential collision between two of the most influential and controversial figures in the Southeast. You see, for weeks now, the atmosphere in the region has been thick with tension, almost like you can cut it with a knife. Ever since Justice Omotosho slammed that life imprisonment sentence on Nnamdi Kanu in November and ordered his immediate transfer to the Sokoto Correctional Center, the IPOB leader has been completely cut off. He has been isolated from his family, isolated from his doctors, and isolated from his legal team. We heard the desperate cry of his lead counsel, Aloy Ejimakor, who famously said that moving Kanu to Sokoto was like sending him to the land of his enemies, a calculated attempt to break his spirit by keeping him hundreds of miles away from his kinsmen. But while many billionaires, politicians, and traditional rulers in the East are afraid to even speak up for fear of being tagged as terrorist sympathizers, Prophet Odumeje seems to have decided that he is the man for the job. He has decided that if no one else will go to Sokoto, the lion himself will go. According to emerging reports from credible sources within the security architecture, high-level intelligence reached the DSS headquarters in Abuja that Odumeje was finalizing plans for a solidarity visit to the Northwest. The intel reportedly suggests that Odumeje intends to storm Sokoto not just as a cleric offering prayers, but as a symbol of defiance. Now, you might ask, is it a crime to visit a prisoner? In normal circumstances, under the Nigerian constitution, every prisoner has a right to visitation. But we all know that when it comes to Nnamdi Kanu, normal does not apply. The government knows that Odumeje is not just a regular pastor who will read a Bible verse and leave. He is a massive influencer with a cult-like following that cuts across the youth, the streets, and the traders. If the lion steps foot in Sokoto to visit the lion of the East, it is not just a visit, it is a political statement. It is a rally without a microphone. The DSS reportedly fears that the optics of Odumeje standing outside Sokoto prison, or worse, emerging from a meeting with Kanu, would send a shock wave through the country. They fear it could spark unrest, embolden the agitators, or reignite the very agitation that the government thought they had buried in that remote Sokoto prison cell. The drama gets deeper and more complicated when you look at Odumeje's recent actions. This man is not slowing down. Just this month, December 2025, he shocked the political establishment by declaring his intention to run for president in 2027. Yes, you heard me right. The man who wrestles demons in Onitsha wants to wrestle power in Aso Rock. He told his congregation in a viral sermon that Nigeria needs a digital leader and not old cargoes who have failed the nation. He has been very vocal, challenging the status quo and attacking the economic policies that have brought hardship to the common man. So, when you combine his sudden presidential ambition with his open, unapologetic support for Nnamdi Kanu, you can see why the red lights are flashing frantically at the DSS headquarters. They don't just see a pastor, they see a potential alliance. They see the spiritual power and street credibility of Odumeje merging with the political street power and ideological diehards of Nnamdi Kanu. That is a combination, a collision of powers, if you will, that the current administration does not want to deal with, especially as we start looking towards the next election cycle. Sources claim that the DSS is leaving nothing to chance. They are tracking his movements with precision to ensure he does not make that trip to the northwest. They want to stop the Abido shaker from shaking Sokoto. Their strategy is containment. They know that if Odumeje goes to Sokoto, the cameras will follow, the bloggers will follow, the attention of the world will shift to that prison facility, and the government's strategy of silence and isolation for Kanu will crumble. Remember, the Federal High Court just rejected Kanu's application to be moved back to Abuja on December 8, 2025. The government fought tooth and nail to keep him in Sokoto. They want him kept away, out of sight, and out of mind. Odumeje trying to bridge that gap, trying to bring the spotlight back to Kanu, is seen as a direct challenge to the state's authority and a sabotage of their security strategy. People are asking a very critical question right now. Can the DSS stop the liquid metal? Odumeje has always boasted about his powers. He speaks of Gandusa, Gandukagaga, and claims he is not a man to be intimidated by mere mortals. He walks with a swagger that says he owns the place. But the DSS is not a spiritual force, they are a physical force with guns, handcuffs, and detention cells. This standoff is raising serious questions about freedom of movement and association in our democracy. If a Nigerian citizen, a pastor for that matter, cannot visit a member of his flock or a brother from his region in a Nigerian prison, then are we really free? Are there different laws for different people? The tension is high because Odumeje is unpredictable. That is what scares the authorities the most. One moment he is wrestling in church and doing the Undertaker move, the next he is making serious political statements that resonate with the frustrated youths. His supporters, the Indaboski adherents, are already online warning the DSS to steer clear of their prophet. They are flooding social media with warnings that touching Odumeje would be a mistake of epic proportions, a mistake that could set the entire southeast on fire again, just when things were trying to calm down. They believe Odumeje has a spiritual covering that makes him untouchable. On the other hand, critics and political analysts are warning that Odumeje is playing with fire. They are saying he should focus on his ministry, focus on his miracles, and leave politics and high-stakes agitation alone before he gets burnt. They warn that the DSS does not understand spiritual vibes and that he could find himself in the cell right next to Kanu if he pushes too hard. The intelligence report allegedly indicates that the DSS is ready to arrest him for incitement if he attempts to force his way to Sokoto. They are watching his sermons, monitoring his live broadcasts, and checking his flight manifests. It's a game of cat and mouse. Will Odumeje go by road to avoid the airports? Will he use a private jet? Or will he listen to the warnings and stay in Onitsha? The fact that we are even asking these questions shows how charged the atmosphere has become. This is no longer just about religion, it is about the intersection of faith, politics, and the struggle for self-determination in the Southeast. I really want to know what you think about this explosive situation. Do you think Odumeje should call the DSS's bluff and go ahead to visit Kanu in Sokoto? Is it his right as a pastor and a Nigerian? Or do you think he is playing a dangerous game that could cost him his freedom? Is the government right to be afraid of a meeting between Odumeje and Kanu? This is a developing story that touches on the very heart of our national unity, the rights of citizens, and the future of the 2027 elections. As we watch to see if the lion will roar in Sokoto or if the DSS will manage to cage him in Anambra, please do me a massive favor and smash that like button. It helps us expose these stories to the world and keeps you informed on the things the mainstream media might be too afraid to touch. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please click that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. We are following this story bumper to bumper, tracking every move, and we will bring you the update the moment anything happens. You don't want to miss it.